I'm now going to do some Q&A. I asked you guys to send questions, anything you were curious about and wanted me to answer, and I've compiled some of them. I'll definitely do more of these videos, by the way, so if your question didn't make it in, please keep commenting, and I will definitely answer more. But we're gonna get started. How did you start your music career? My mom was a high school music teacher, and even my dad loves to sing. His mom sang Chinese opera, so on both sides of the family I have musical roots. So I always knew I wanted to be a performer, to be a songwriter and a musician. At this point, now almost 10 years ago, when I was in college at Yale, I started uploading videos with Kurt online, and that really was the start of it all, and I could never have imagined that it would turn into what it has become, which is getting to make music and tour and create original albums and videos, and I never would have dreamed it would have become that, but I think uploading that first video was the official start to my career. Can you describe how your music style has changed over the years? Definitely. I mean, I think one of the things I always try to remind myself is, as a musician, we're always learning and always growing. You know, the way to keep music exciting and interesting and fun is to change and is to adapt. So my style has definitely changed. I think by covering music and by doing a lot of covers, that involves looking at songs and deconstructing them, breaking them down to their parts, figuring out what makes them work, what makes them tick, and then, you know, reassembling them and turning them into something new. And that's an awesome education in music and pop music. So every time I'm covering a song, I'm learning something new. I'm adding to my vocabulary of music or production or arrangement. So as musical styles and pop music change, I've learned new things. I think my production style has definitely evolved. You know, when I first started doing music on YouTube, Kurt was doing all the production, and over the last several years, I've really learned a lot about, you know, production and arranging, and now I arrange and produce all of my own stuff, so in that way, it's all definitely changed. I'm really into, like, really synthy, rhythmic, syncopated stuff right now, and yeah, so always growing, always evolving. Any singing or vocal tips that you can share? Well, as with musical style, vocal technique is something that I think you can always remain a student and always learn new things. I definitely, as I've been doing more touring and live performance, I've had to learn a lot of new stuff on maintaining and being able to sing, you know, shows every night of the week. Casey probably could tell you some great tips because he has more of a classical training background than I do. But one thing I always have to remind myself, even though it sounds simple, is just to breathe and take really good deep breaths when you're trying to sing. Especially on stage, if you're running around and dancing and doing a high energy performance and getting caught up in the moment, sometimes you forget to just take really big, deep, supported breaths, and then you're like, why is it hard to sing these really high notes? And almost always it's because you just don't have enough air, you know, and enough support with your diaphragm. So yeah, especially when it's dancey and high energy, remembering to breathe is something that's always a good tip. How old were you when you wrote your first song? How long have you been a full-time songwriter? Well, as I said, I have been making music since I was very small. We had a piano in the house. I grew up with show tunes, with musical theater, and so even when I was a little kid, I was writing silly little shows and songs that I would put on in the living room and make my parents watch, sometimes wrote my friends into being a part of my little, you know. Not until high school did I actually really sort of start to sit down at the piano and learn how to write a song with chords and melodies and lyrics and all that. But really creating videos on YouTube and online allowed me to sort of actually have a platform to not only write these songs, but finish them, turn them into recorded, you know, recordings and videos, and share them with the world. So really, in the last, you know, 8 years is when I've sort of been putting out my own music, and it's been so rewarding. I absolutely love songwriting, and we've even started writing more for other artists and with other artists, and that's one of my favorite parts about the whole musical experience is songwriting. I've been following you since I was in elementary school. what kept you going for so many years? First of all, thank you so much for following me for so long. It really means a lot. I love so much what I do, and so knowing that there are people like you out there who are supporting and enjoying the work I'm putting online means the world. And actually, that's kind of the answer to your question. That is a large part of what keeps me going, is just knowing that there are people out there who, when I make a song or make a video, are going to appreciate it and enjoy it, and it's going to make them, you know, feel some way, either feel happier or feel a little better or just connect to something that you're feeling. Knowing that is such an incredible motivator. It's so important, regardless of what your field is or what your art is, to be creating stuff that you actually enjoy creating and then listening to, because I think you can tell when you're listening to any piece of music if the person who made it really loves what they're doing, and I think that's super important. So that definitely keeps me motivated. What's the process of collaborating with other YouTubers? Very good question. That's been a large part. Ooh, I almost dropped my phone. That's been a large part of what we've done on YouTube. There's such a strong community of so many talented people globally. You know, a lot of the sort of OG YouTubers all kind of made their way to Los Angeles here, so we've been able to collaborate in person with a lot of our peers and friends like Keena Granis or Lindsay Sterling or any of the sort of music YouTube people who have been around for a long time. And with many of those people, we've become good friends, so the process of collaborating is just picking up the phone and saying, hey, you want to do this song together? And then, you know, finding a time to make it work, and it's always a lot of fun because we really like a lot of those people. But the amazing thing about the internet and YouTube and BiliBili is that, you know, we're living in a global world now, and there are so many talented people in literally every place, and we can now make music even if we're thousands of miles apart and never have even met each other. So before this most recent tour that we did last November, we did a lot of collaborations with artists in the places that we were going on tour. So I did a collaboration with a Thai artist and with a Malaysian artist and a Singaporean artist, and it was so amazing to be able to be working in my little studio here, creating the music, you know, emailing back and forth, sending vocals, sending mixes, and ultimately doing a video with people that I've never actually met before. And that's something amazing, and is allowing collaborations nowadays that could never have, you know, happened a few decades ago. So it's actually, in some ways, it's pretty easy to collaborate with the other talented people across the world. Where do you get your inspiration for music? Everywhere is the simple answer. You know, listening to a lot of different kinds of music, I think, is really important. If you're only listening to one kind of music, it's hard to find your own style from, you know, it's the larger your palette of what you're listening to, the more sort of you can decide what you like when you're going to write or create music. So I like listening to, you know, pop music, classic stuff. I love 80s music, the great vocalists like Celine. I also, as I said before, I love show tunes and musical theater because I love the storytelling that is involved in that kind of music. So yeah, listening to a lot of stuff. And then I also think partaking in other kinds of art too is important. So I love reading novels and watching movies and television shows, and oftentimes that's where the inspiration from songs will come from. You know, if not from your own personal life, you know, reading and learning about other people's experiences and stories is a great place to start when it comes to songwriting. And so, yeah, looking for inspiration in every facet of art and in every facet of your life, I think, is always a good way to go about it. You make a lot of one-cut videos or one-take videos. How many tries did it take you for the Make It Up video? That's a good question. Well, if you haven't seen the music video for my original song, Make It Up, which was my first full-length original album, was called Make It Up. In fact, maybe I should post that video here on BiliBili one of these days, if for those of you who haven't seen it. But the music video we did for it, and that was with Kurt, was a super fun one-take video where the whole, 3.5 minutes of the song from start to end all in one shot with a bunch of crazy moving parts. There was a dance, there were a bunch of different extras. We started one place, got on a flatbed truck, and ended in another place, and it was very complicated. With any shoot like that, it's all about the planning, so you only actually maybe end up doing 7 or 8 takes because it's really involved to actually do a whole take through, and everyone has to move from start to end and pre-set up. So the more you know before you start shooting exactly where everyone needs to be when, and the more you practice that, then you know you're gonna get the shot. So we actually only, I think, did maybe 7 or 8 takes, because by the time we started shooting, we saw the sun in the sky and knew that it was going down, and we only had so much time left. So we were like, okay, we got to get it. And I think it was maybe the last take or the second to last take. At this point, it's been a few years, but you kind of just keep going until you get it right, because you only need one shot with videos like that. They're a lot of fun, but can be kind of stressful. But that one, we made it work. What do you think about Chinese pop music? Who's your favorite Chinese singer? I'm embarrassed to say that before starting my BiliBili, I didn't know a ton about Chinese pop music. When I was little, there was like some like Hong Kong Cantonese pop that I think my like cousins played me, and I remember really liking that. But other than that, I had covered on YouTube a couple Jay Cho songs, but didn't know a lot. And one of my favorite parts about starting this BiliBili has been learning just more great Chinese music, and it's a lot of it is so beautiful, and I feel like in Chinese pop music there's such great melodies, and I absolutely love that. One of my favorites, I think, so far to sing, again, I can't say yet who my favorite Chinese singer is because I'm still learning a lot, but I really loved 有一种悲伤 by Ah Lin. I thought her voice in the original recording of that is absolutely beautiful. It's another thing I love about Chinese pop music. I feel like there's a lot more lush orchestration than in contemporary Western pop music right now, and I love some good strings and orchestra. Can you share your experiences on learning different languages? Especially, how did you learn Chinese? First of all, to clear up, I actually haven't really fully learned Chinese. I'm in the process. My dad is from Hong Kong, so as a kid I could understand a little bit of Cantonese. I went to Cantonese school on the weekends for a little while, but since then I've definitely forgotten a lot. And I've never really formally, officially learned Mandarin. Casey, of course, studied it, so every now and then he'll give me a little lesson. But one of the big things after starting this BiliBili especially is that I do want to get better at Chinese, to actually learn to be able to hopefully do a video like this at some point in Mandarin, which would be really cool. But I'm working on it. In general, how do I learn different languages? The only other languages I know are, in high school I learned a bit of German, and in college I studied Ancient Greek and Latin, which are not exactly languages you speak, they're languages you read, and that's a whole different kind of thing that not very useful in the modern world, but I enjoyed it, so I do really like languages, and that's why Chinese is my next task, is to improve my Chinese skills. Do you have an official Chinese name, and what does it mean to you? I do, actually. My dad, as I said, is from Hong Kong, and I still have a bunch of family there. So when I was born, I was given, both me and my brother were given Chinese names, and mine is Tsui Saosam, and I think in Mandarin it's Shu Shoushan. Is that right? Casey, is that good?
Xu Shoushan.
Shu Shoushan. And so that's my Chinese name. It's actually part of my full sort of Western name. My name on my birth certificate is Samuel Story, which is my middle name, Saosam Shui. So yeah, I love that it's actually part of my full legal name, and they chose that name because everyone in my generation within my family has the Sao, and they picked Sam as the second part of that because it sounds like Sam. And my brother, who's Kent, is Sao Kin, because that sort of sounds similar. Dear Sam, I've been following you for a long time since I saw your cover for Just Give Me a Reason on YouTube. It's a good one. Your voice is amazing, thank you, and I really love your work with other amazing people. I'd like to know, how do you practice pronouncing Mandarin so good? Did you mark the lyric in English letters one by one? By the way, please send my greetings to Casey. Love you two so much. Well, you're in luck. Casey's right here. Why don't we bring him in?
哎，大家好。
Casey, everybody.
那是一个很好的问题，我一定是他的中文老师，可是我可能不是那么好的老师，因为我的中文差得远了。我在耶鲁大学的时候学了2年的中文，但是现在我汉语水平没有以前高。但是从此以后，我们都要更努力的学习，所以我们都可以说中文。So we're going to study really hard together, right?
We are going to study very hard together. Right, so even though I've been singing these Chinese songs, I haven't always necessarily understood every single word. You know, I learn the meanings and look it up, but oftentimes I'm translating into pinyin, and then Casey's helping me make sure that the pronunciation sounds okay.
对，他的发音很好。
Yeah, I think I do okay. And I think in singing these songs, I'm, picking up things here and there. So hopefully then when I go to learn vocabulary or words, I'll be like, oh yeah, I remember in that song, I use that word, and
Totally.
it's helpful to build vocabulary.
It's kind of fun to learn through song lyrics.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Like, oh, that's a beautiful word. That's a great phrase. You can kind of pick it up.
I think music can sometimes help you remember things. So if you can recognize words or phrases from songs, I'm sure for any language, if you're learning English, it's music is a
if you
great
need
way.
to say there's a kind of sorrow, you know what to say.
有一种悲，有一种悲伤.
Yeah,
Okay. See, I'm learning. You would think everyone asks if being a musician helps with learning a tonal language like Mandarin, and maybe a little bit, but it's still tricky. It's tricky.
I think it's helpful for the tones.
Yeah, it's
for
helpful.
Sure.
It's helpful, but if you're not born speaking into a language that has tones, it's an extra step to learn. What is your daily routine? Who does the cooking at home?
I do a little more of the cooking, but
He
you like
does
to
more
cook
of the
too.
cooking. We both cook.
We both like to cook.
Casey does a little bit more. I think Casey has more skill. More various skills. You've studied sort of more techniques, so you can, when you throw together a dish,
Sure.
It generally is a little more complex than something else.
But we love to cook together for dinner parties, entertaining friends, hosting.
Yes, we love trying different recipes. We've tried a lot of Middle Eastern stuff, definitely some Chinese stuff. We did a vlog here on the BiliBili, making some shuiju.
Yeah.
And so we love trying interesting regional stuff when we can.
Definitely.
And then I think you often learn things from those recipes and then incorporate those into more casual dining. But you a little bit more
cooking.
He's a good cook.
And our daily routine, I mean, these days we're mostly at home all day, and we just do our recording and our songwriting and...
Yeah, we work, from home, which is a lot of fun, but it also means we have to, stay focused when it's work time, and then, when the work day ends, then we can, transition into cooking and watching television and relaxing a little bit more.
Playing with the cat.
Exactly. What was your impression of Beijing and Shanghai on your last visit/tour? We loved it.
We love it.
It was so much fun. I was so happy. It was my first shows in Beijing and in Shanghai, and not only were the shows wonderful, but our time spent there was awesome. We ate so much great food.
Oh, so much good food. And I love both those cities. I love Beijing. It's just such an exciting, fun, culturally rich place to be and to get to visit.
Yeah, we visited the Great Wall. Very cold, but I had never been there, so it was fun to be a tourist a little bit. When you're on tour, you don't always have so much spare time to do all the things in a city that you'd want to do. But because Beijing was our last stop on that tour, we got to linger a little bit longer and we saw the Great Wall.
We went to the Summer Palace.
Beautiful. My guitarist Jason he took a literally one-day trip. He didn't even stay overnight to Xi'an,
yeah,
to see the Terracotta Soldier. So we we tried to make the most of our time, and we had a really wonderful time. I can't wait to come back.
Yeah.
And hopefully play some more shows for all of you.
Those were great shows.
Yeah, a lot of fun. What's your favorite video game?
The only video game that I play is Animal Crossing, and I
got him hooked on it, and it's a lot of fun.
It's so fun.
Yeah.
It's very simple. It's very peaceful. Sam likes some more
I play
active...
some more games like Overwatch or Apex Legends, games that you can play online with other people and are a little more like pew pew pew.
I like a nice, friendly, happy game.
Yeah, but definitely, especially spending all this time at home, it's been great to have the PlayStation and the Nintendo Switch to be able to have a little bit of fun even from our couch. Nice. Oh, well, thank you for joining us, Casey.
Well, thank you so much.
Of course.
I'll return to over there.
A couple other questions. What are your hobbies other than creating music? Well, as we said, I do like playing video games. It's I think when you've spent all day working on music, it's just like a very different thing to focus on and have fun with. So I play a lot of games online. I like role-playing, story-driven games, like Horizon Zero Dawn or The Last of Us. And then other than that, I really like visual art as well, graphic art. So I paint a little bit. I like to do digital illustration with my tablet. Ever since I was little, I used to draw. I mean, like the amount of paper I went through as a kid was crazy. I would just doodle and draw all the time. I don't do it as much, but when I do, I like to sit down and do some illustrations. One of my favorite things actually to paint and draw are like historical or mythological subjects from either Chinese mythology or Greek mythology. So I really love being able to sort of, again, do something artistic and creative like music, but using a totally different part of the brain. And it also means I am able to, design all my own album art and, actually video editing and footage coloring and all that stuff has a very kind of, it's related, to design and art as well. So I use a lot of those skills from art, I think, in what I do professionally as well. That's why I chose Yale. Is it close to the real life of your years at Yale? Well, unfortunately, during my time at Yale, we didn't sing everything. Life at Yale isn't a full musical, so in that way, it is different from the video. That's why I chose Yale. But no, obviously, a lot of that stuff in the video is totally accurate. That we created that video along with Kurt and a bunch of other classmates at Yale to kind of give prospective students an impression of what life was like there. I think compared to all of the other Ivy League schools, it's one of the best, certainly for art and music and performance. So in that way, I think it's a really great representation of the school. I, of course, had a wonderful time there, started my YouTube career there using the facilities and the gear and the technology that we had access to as undergraduates. So definitely grateful for that. And, to this day, most of my best friends, a lot of them are the friends I made while I was there. And my husband, Casey, also I met at Yale. So, I have very, very fond memories of school. Sometimes I definitely miss it. I don't miss being a student and having to do homework and papers, but actually being at Yale was a ton of fun. And I definitely, if you're interested in schools in the U.S., definitely check out Yale. You majored in classical Greek, but are now a musician. Can you please share how you balance your hobbies with your studies in college? Do you regret taking a career that's not related to your major? That's a great question. One of the things that I loved about Yale in particular, and I think college in general, is that even if you're studying something and focusing on something, that doesn't necessarily have to be the only thing that you spend your time doing. So at Yale, for example, even though, yes, I was working on a bachelor's degree in classical studies, in classical Greek, I spent a lot of time in music classes and in music extracurriculars. So I was in a lot of theatrical performances. I sang a cappella and took a lot of music courses as well. And so I didn't have to choose one or the other, which was important to me. And I think even when I was studying classics and classical Greek, I think I always planned on going into music, and I really just used the time I had at Yale, where they had such a fantastic department for classics, to, learn something that I thought was really interesting and cared a lot about. But definitely, I definitely always knew I wanted to go into music and performance. And as I said before, I think as an artist, it's important to have interests and have fields of study that aren't necessarily just the art that you're creating. So I think maybe being a classical Greek major and having that source of knowledge and coming from that perspective, maybe in some ways affects the music I make or the art I make. And I think I'm in a lot of ways using what I learned, just maybe not exactly in the way that a lot of people who study classics use it. But then I guess to the question of how did I balance? I think it's it's different for everyone, but always making sure that you have enough time for not only the stuff that you have to do for school and for your hobbies, but also for yourself. I think college can be a crazy time with a lot of pressure and a lot going on. And I think even back then in college when I was at Yale, making sure to take time to focus on yourself and making sure you're not doing too much is always important. But yeah, I loved Yale. Okay, so that is all of your questions. Thank you so much for sending them in. One of my favorite parts about doing these videos on BiliBili has been reading your comments and reading the little comments that fly by. I love getting to know you, and I hope we get to do more of this. Please send me more questions, send me requests of songs you want to hear me attempt or cover or do mashups of, and I just can't wait to keep growing this channel, to take it from 100,000 to 1 million and beyond, and really just so I can keep making music for all of you on BiliBili. And yeah, I love you guys. Thanks so much, and I will see you in the next video here on BiliBili. Bye.